VPN at technophilespodcast.com. I'm David Geisler, and this is the Technophiles Podcast. Hey everybody, welcome to tonight's show. This is part 3 of episode 282. I'm here with Krista-Lee Malone and Vee Laabs. Girls, how you doing? Vee Laabs, how are you? How's your hood?
It's nice and warm.
I'm sorry I set you up for that.
That's just it. Hoods are warm. I love hoods.
Hoods are warm.
They're so comfortable.
I have a really nice hood that's it's like big.
Mm-hmm. Oh,
like it's it still covers, but it's loose. Oh, it's the one I wore in the BB-8 episode for the newscast. It's like a big wide hood. It's really great. Anyway, it doesn't matter. I have to apologize to V in front of our audience right now. We were goofing around in the pre-show, and we were talking about hoods, and I said, "Wait, V, how tight can your hood go? How tight can your hood go on your face?" She said, "Well, let me just try." And then I started the show.
So man.
Technology podcast about hoods.
We're at a disadvantage because we can't start the show.
Can't control it. And welcome back. Wow. I have to confess, I do take a certain pleasure in like waiting for that exactly right moment where people's guards are just a little down, so it's like natural coming back in.
Yeah.
I have to admit. Gals, we are in part 3. We're back from our break here for episode 282. We in part 1 we talked a little bit about health apps. Part 2 we talked about President Obama's Snapchat account. So you can go check those out if you like. But otherwise, we are here, and it's my turn to talk about actually just some iOS updates that I thought were kind of interesting here in part 3. So iOS 9. I'll just jump in, I guess, right? Let's just do it. Let's just do it and close this episode out.
Yeah.
iOS 9.3 is about to come out, and in fact, by the time people are hearing this, it might be out already. Again, as I said in part 2, we're recording this episode early because of schedules this week.
During the State of the Union.
We are literally recording this during the State of the Union that happened back on Tuesday. So anyway, I don't know. This caught my attention a little bit because there's a lot of trends out there. There's a lot of. It seems like every other day, be it on Facebook or Twitter or something, I see some BuzzFeed post or Mashable post or some kind of post about like, stop looking at your phones in bed already. You'll see these titles, you know what I mean? We know that like when it's time to go to bed, our eyes, after years and years and years of evolution, we're not used to having like bright blue light shown into our eyes just as we're about to sleep. Mm-hmm. In fact, on a completely natural level, we're like that's all part of our rhythm is that we have the blue light and we go down into orange light and we go down to sleep and we come back out of it, and it helps our brains know where we're at. To be quite honest, on a personal note, I usually have to sleep, I usually prefer to sleep with my curtains open on my windows so that natural light kind of coming in and out while I sleep helps inform me like as I'm waking up,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I find that works a lot better. I cannot do like the curtains closed all the way thing because if it's just pitch black all the time, how do I know what time it is? Mm-hmm. I can kind of wake up at 4. If I accidentally wake up at 4, I go, okay, I got a few more hours, that kind of thing. Okay, part of that rhythm. However, I do find that I enjoy being on my phone before I go to bed. I have to admit, be it my iPad mini or my phone, you lay down and you just check a few final things. Maybe you go over your schedules on your calendar. Maybe you're just bumming around on Vine or something like that. But like you do it. I think we all. Mm-hmm. Or let's say you're being even a little bit more classy about it and you're reading a book on your iBooks or your Amazon, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Like I think everybody still wants to do this to some degree or does it. It's what the generation before us, it's like the TV in the room. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Like I don't have a television in my bedroom. I want to ask, do you girls have televisions in your bedrooms that you like watch when you go to bed?
Nope.
I do, but in my defense, it is smaller than my computer monitor.
Interesting. Okay, yeah, fair enough. Yeah, so like I don't either. Like so I think like the generation of parents that came out of the 80s, I know for example, I mean my folks are wonderful people, but I know that it's part of their habit to have that TV on when they go to bed and it goes to sleep, the sleep timer on. I think a lot of people in that generation have that. So obviously our expression of that I think is checking the phones. Okay, fine. Mm-hmm. Well, there's a couple Chrome extensions out there. In fact, Nate Winter, who is the director of the newscast that we all do, the Technophiles newscast, he runs like a Chrome extension app on his MacBook that takes the screen down and brings it into an amber tone.
Yes, Flux. That's what I
It
use
is Flux.
on
You're
my
absolutely
computer.
right. So you use it too. Oh, great. So we've got someone here who actually uses it. Right. So what's your take on Flux?
Flux is great. It reduces eye strain at night. I feel a lot more relaxed. And
I always take my brightness and put it down to the absolute minimum when I'm in bed at night. But even sometimes that still feels too bright.
Yeah.
Just because of that blue.
It's great. It's fantastic. It's sometimes jarring when I have to work on image stuff at night and I take it off for an hour and then it goes to blue and I'm like, everything looks wrong.
Yeah, because the colors are different. It's true.
Yeah.
Now, Flux makes things very amber, I've noticed.
It does.
Like, it's basically an amber filter almost. It's
pretty
almost
impressive.
a sepia filter. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it's cool, and I get it. One of the features, there's two features that I'm kind of excited about iOS 9.3, and I'm not one that usually pays attention to the point number updates. I'll pay attention to, like, the 9 point whatever, the 8 point whatever, because you just want to see what features are coming. As anybody with an Android wants to know about their next version. It's like, how will this thing change? But the points is usually not a very big deal. Usually it's fixes. Usually it's just corrections and fixes. It's like, oh, this thing works better now. Oh,
Yeah.
okay, awesome. You know what I mean? Oh, better iCloud sync. All right, great.
Yeah.
Who cares? I mean, technically you do care, but who cares? So there's two features coming out with 9.3 that are kind of interesting, and one is what Apple is calling Night Shift. And Night Shift is a feature that the iPhone will. It's not going to blow anybody's mind. It's basically Flux, but it's a little different. The iPhone is going to feel. It knows the time of day. It's going to feel your activity. Feel if you're using it. Create algorithms of if you often. It can basically try to guess if you're in bed or not, using your phone in bed or not, based on time, based on.
Location?
I mean, we have health kit data these days and stuff like that. Like, you know what I mean? You can start using some of this data in positive ways. I haven't actually gotten confirmation on the health kit thing. I want to be clear about that. I don't want to inform people incorrectly, but apparently the idea is the phone and the pads are going to deduce if you're in bed or at least at a bare minimum the time of day and adjust accordingly. They're going to prefer a warmer experience, a warmer light experience. I don't think it's going to be a full-on. The interesting thing is I don't think it's going to be a full-on amber filter because I think some of the other colors will still stay true. Yeah. But in general, it can gradiate down into like an orange, a more warm experience before you go to bed. Of course, there's a feature I'm sure you'll be able to turn on and off when it comes out, but it's just something I thought I'd mention real quick, and I'll certainly enjoy it when it comes out.
That's fascinating because just a few months ago there was a story that Apple got really mad at Flux because they had an app or a program available to be downloaded onto like jailbroken iPhones. And they were like, you're messing with the warranty, like you are accessing parts of the programming, the brightness and the screen color that nobody else is allowed to touch.
Right.
Stop that. And
so Flux has a real app and then they have a jailbroke app?
Well,
is that what
I guess
it is?
I think so.
Or is Flux only jailbroken? Because if once you jailbreak your iPhone or your Amazon or your Android, you know, the iPhone thing,
warranty's out the window.
You're already out. You're already in a different spectrum.
Maybe it was just like a real app that would access that. And
maybe it was a real one that was doing it. Yeah. Could be. Could be. And maybe part of that is because Apple is doing their own thing. Now, one of the things, I did find an article on extremetech.com that pointed out that this is potentially in response to trying to not de-incentivize people to buy Kindles, but the whole thing about like, oh, the Kindle is nice and dull, I can read it at night and it's not shining a light in my face. This is potentially something that can be a comment on that. I'm not necessarily I'm not saying that people need to read their books on their iPhones or their iPads compared to a Kindle. I actually very much enjoy the reading experience on a Kindle, but I think that this is also kind of lining up with that. You know? I don't know. Yeah. If I could be in bed and not have that weird blue light shine straight up to the ceiling and all that stuff, that's good. And there are times where you like take that phone away and you're just like, you're blinking. You're like, where are you? You know, it's very easy to accidentally stay up too late, even when you're just kind of like in zombie mode, then scrolling through stuff. So anyway, that's one thing. The other thing that I'm really excited about, to be honest, is they're doing a beta. A beta is going to come out, so hopefully we'll see like a real version of this in 10.0. There's a beta coming out for education. And what they're doing is, so let me preface this by saying this first. My mother and my sister both work in education, both in elementary schools here in Wisconsin. Both of the schools, and they're different
districts.
Yeah, but they're like it's all so they have similar experiences from a state point of view, but maybe slightly different from the students they have and other things. Who knows? Budgets? I'm not sure. But both schools have a bunch of iPads. All right. So like the way it works with So my mother's school has had iPads for like 4 or 5 years. Back when the iPad 2 came out is when they bought a whole bunch, and they just keep getting more, and it works. And I think they even have like the classic like iPad cart. So there's like the 40 iPads that they wheel into a room, and all the kids can use it for blah 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 experience or whatever. Sometimes then some of the students can get preferred experiences if they've got a special project or they've shown that they've not broken one or something like that. Maybe they can even take one home and check them out and stuff like that. But here's the thing about any Apple device that's highly frustrating, in my opinion. You sign into it and that's it. You know what I mean? Like, we have our editing station that we edit these shows on is in the other room here, just around the corner in the studio here. And every one of the editors like to use their own Chrome profile when they're finding assets and stuff like that. Chrome, the browser, has a really quick hot swap, like pick your user, switch to this person, that person, that person, and it's great. I know Windows, obviously, you can switch your users. On Mac, you can switch your users. But on iOS, you really can't. To switch users on an iPad or an iPhone, you have to go into your settings, basically erase the phone, like delete everything, sign out of iCloud, do all this stuff, delete everything, sign back in, and then say, and now start up from backup. Or from my backup file that's on iCloud, now source from that. It's ridiculous. And so that's kind of one of those things, like when the iPads first came out for families, there would be an issue with, like, I remember I had a coworker a couple years ago. He had his iPhone. Many of the people in his family, his wife had an iPhone, and maybe the kids, I don't know. But they bought an iPad, and he just naturally signed into that iPad on his own account.
Yeah.
Sure.
And for a single person experience, I'm a single person. I have an iPhone and an iPad and a Mac computer. If I download an app on my iTunes on my computer, if I download an app on my iPhone, it's really nice to have those apps also show up on everything else automatically. If I take a picture on my phone, it's really nice to have that stuff automatically show up on everything else for a single person.
Right.
Once you start bringing this into like a family experience and stuff like that, things break down fast. You know what I mean? All of a sudden, like, he had things where his kids were downloading apps and they're showing up on his phone at work because they're clicking Frog Jumper 20,000 or whatever, and like he's got to worry about that. Okay, so just take that times 30 in a school, it becomes a big problem. A lot of schools, what they were starting to do over the years is they were just making like student one profile, student 2 profile, student 3 profile. Obviously not the kids' names or anything like that. You know what I mean? Because what else are you going to do? You're still, like, if an app gets downloaded, it's bad. It's clunky. It's awkward. You're still doing a lot of stuff on the local drives. Let's say they want to use a new math app for these kids. Well, the IT guy at the school has to go through all 40,
and download
all 40 profiles. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And a kid could be irresponsible. And, like, I think they had, at my mother's school, I remember exploring one of her iPads, and they had certain settings where you couldn't delete apps. You had to go into a user admin situation to use it, which was cool, more than like a family situation. But what Apple is doing in iOS 9.3 is they're finally creating, and for education only for now, like multiple logins.
Great.
So what they're doing is every student will get their own login. Now, this is where it gets kind of exciting. Every student gets their own login. That login can happen on any of for the sake of this conversation, 40 iPads. The iPads themselves will then know, like, who's logged in, and the profiles might be a little bit different. There's also an admin profile that can say all of these profiles get these apps or get these permissions or not those permissions, and that will cascade appropriately into the different iPads. You know what I mean? So if you grab iPad number, serial number, blah, 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 01, and then you grab iPad serial number, blah, 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 04, but you still sign in for your thing, it's the same experience.
Yeah.
Furthermore, one final thing. So I think this is great. Obviously,
that is absolutely brilliant.
Right. It's smart.
Yeah.
I think it's in line with, like, I remember being in grade school in 3rd and 4th grade, and we got all those the actual Apple Macs with the square mice and you know what I mean? The Mac computers, like Oregon Trail with we were talking about this in the pre-show, where you hunt by using the little cursor and stuff like that. ClarisWorks, KidPix. We've talked about KidPix before on the show. And back then, when I was in 3rd or 4th grade, I was definitely I was writing code on IBM computers that my dad brought home from work, and I remember going to school and being like, Apple. Yeah, this is how they're going to do it. They're going to get the students. They go to the students and get them used to their computers. We're not even going to be coding on IBMs anymore, is what I thought, 30 years ago, 25 years ago. And I remember I hated Apple when I was in grade school.
Wow.
Because I was writing code and I was just like, blah, blah, blah. And if I may, I don't think Apple really started getting things right until about 10 years ago anyway. Pre iOS or pre OS 10. Like I remember being on OS 9 and OS 8 and it was pretty broken. It was bad. It was not a good operating system. And so anyway, when they kind of did their reboot now at least 10 years ago, which is weird to think about.
Yeah.
That's when they started getting things right. It was almost like a whole new company. Okay, fine. So I digress. This is kind of similar to that, though. They're not going to put a bunch of iMacs in the school library anymore, but now they're going to put 40 or 50 or 60 iPads on a cart or two carts and give every student a login and let it happen. Furthermore, one final thing, and then we're out of here. I thought this was just a cool little detail. They've programmed into the code, this is all coming out in iOS 9.3 apparently. Jeez. They programmed into the code that the specific local iPad, if it feels a similar kid logging into it more often than others, if it feels preferences. Let's just say kid usually grabs number 5.
Yeah.
Or let's say teacher gives the class iPads for the week that they keep in their desks.
Yes.
The iPad will start
kids don't
let's
stuff
say there's
in their
a special
desks anymore.
I'm just trying to say, there's a special project where for 1 week, those 30 iPads stay in one classroom.
Mm-hmm. All right.
I don't know. Whatever.
Yeah.
Or 5 of them go to special kids because of a science fair or something, right? But what I'm really trying to say is if the iPad feels that a certain login is logging into it more than others, it'll actually pre-cache the apps so that it doesn't have to re-download them and pre-cache all the bookmarks and actually store some of that locally, which is cool too.
Yeah.
You know?
So I have a quick question. Is this all cloud-based in that if a kid has an iPad at home, they could log in with their school account in order to do homework?
Really cool if that's the case.
But did they not say?
Right now it is not the case because
Okay.
that iPad at home is not running education mode or whatever.
Okay, so this is not like a publicly available app where...
This is technically a beta.
Okay.
They're trying it in the school space.
Is it an app or a mode?
It's not an app. It's part of the operating system.
Okay.
You go into the settings, you know what I mean? It's, I guess you could say it's a mode,
Just hit a button and go.
Most people are guessing that this is a beta, which will then probably be public in 10, but who knows? That's just speculation.
Well, because I'm just thinking that maybe they could, and maybe not right away, but you could do something like Dropbox, for example,
I agree
where
completely.
I can get on your computer and then go through a browser, go and get my Dropbox stuff, even if it's not downloaded on your computer.
Which is no different than the Google Drive. Well, the Google Drive does the sync, but yeah, I see what you're saying.
Right. So that's why, and that's kind of what I had in my head. And I was thinking maybe you could access
I suspect
it from
that
home.
when this is out of beta, I'm speculating right now. It'd be cool if, when this is all done, the kid might have a dad or a mom who's at home that has an iPad.
Sure.
And they could sign in on their school account,
right?
And it switches over. I'm sure the parents would love that too.
That'd be so great.
One of the things that Android did that was really cool, I don't know if it was Android specifically, it might have been Samsung coded it as an extension into Android, but was that kids mode thing that was happening a few years ago?
Kids mode?
You could switch your phone to kids mode.
Oh, so it
you have certain apps, only certain apps show up, the buttons are bigger, they can't delete things. No. So when your daughter or niece or whatever says, I want to play that blah 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 game, you switch to kids mode. You know what I mean?
They can't mess with your calendars or emails and stuff like that.
My sister has 2 daughters, and she has lost many a data unit to them not, and so all of a sudden you don't want to hand your phone over.
Yeah.
So I get that everything you were saying, it sounds like you're talking about the iPads and
I'm saying iPads, but it's iOS, yeah.
Right, I know, but I meant in middle school, high school, maybe elementary school or whatnot. But
I feel like it's elementary, but yeah.
Yeah, but I'm sitting here and I'm thinking, I could see this actually potentially having
I see where you're going with this.
A college potential as well.
Yeah.
Now because I'm very tech heavy when I teach, which some of my students really like, some of them don't. But I ran into this problem about a year ago when I was teaching the geek culture class. And because of the blogging and assignments I was doing, everybody had to have a Google account.
Sure.
You would not believe what a hot mess this was.
For people to set up Google Drive accounts?
Yes. They did not even need their own Google Drive account. I'm you need to sign up and have a Google account for blogging. And I had people who are like, I don't want to remember another account. I already have a Google account. I don't want a second one. I don't want to change my nickname. I don't want to, like, you would just not believe how much pushback I got about having a new thing. But the reason why this makes me think, I wonder if this could help that, is because if you have a whole education profile, right?
Yeah.
Right.
And then I can just say, use your profile, this thing that already exists. You don't need a new one. That could make the difference.
Yeah, you get the profile in the school. That's where we're going with this.
Yes,
we might see that in a couple of years.
Yeah.
Like, that would help a lot.
And ultimately, at the end of the day, all I'm really talking about is Apple is doing a thing that Chrome has been doing for a while of multiple logins. I mean, it's not like changing the world, but it's cool. It's a little bit cool that this is happening in a weird little update.
Yeah.
But I think it's smart.
It's working towards something that had that need for it. Because I've heard of classrooms using iPads and Macs for the last ages.
And they always want to use it. And sometimes you have to, like, fight
it's
around.
So clunky. Yeah.
It gets clunky.
You know, and this is one of those things, I'm going to be superstitious for a moment. I want to put this in the ether because then maybe it'll happen. Dear Apple, please make it so that a student can anonymously share something that they've done. Thank you.
With software? I don't understand.
Yes. Okay. So, like, I will take from my iPad and put things up on the screen to share with class.
Yes.
Right? I do that. Everybody knows it's coming from my iPad, but I'm the teacher. Obviously, they know
you
me.
AirPlay it, or do you do the HDMI cord thing?
I have a cord.
Okay.
I'm not sure. I can't figure out AirPlay with the school computer. Anyways, but sometimes I want to share a student's work, or sometimes we're doing something where I'm like, you must share X thing.
And they have it up on their device?
And they will, well, and this is part of the whole Google login problem, right? I told people, don't use your real name because I will require you to share these with the class, but you are not required to tell people it is yours, right? So if everyone's pushing
something they've written,
something
or
to me,
a graphic they've created,
right? Which, depending on the assignment, sometimes we're talking about graphics, sometimes we're talking about writing. So they push it all to me, and then I can anonymize it and then push it up.
They push it to you.
Email it to me is what I'm actually saying.
All right, let's be careful because push is a very different technology.
Yes, sorry. The way it works in the classroom, it feels like it's being pushed to me because I will have my email open on like, I have a whole, like, tech array sitting in front of me in the classroom, right?
Sure, right.
So it feels that way.
Okay. They email it to you.
So usually it will be like an email.
And then you take that attachment
me.
and you put it on a drive somewhere.
I just opened it up right there. The school email allows
because you're screen
for
sharing up to...
Yes.
Okay. You're doing screen mirror with an HDMI out.
Yes.
Got it. I see now. This is making more sense.
And the way the school email is set up, you can kind of do this thing where you can preview things before without actually downloading, because I don't like downloading stuff on this public school computer.
Sure.
Right. But here's my point. When I'm doing all of this, there's a lot of, I'm going to unshare my screen, get things out, get the preview up to hide names.
Make sure it's okay, then bring it up. Okay.
Reshare, put it up, blah, blah, blah. If there was some kind of system, if there was something where, everyone can log in, they can do their thing, and then they can, like,
well, I mean, you can share assets. You can share assets anonymously with AirPlay with any iOS device.
So,
but everyone would have to have an iOS device is the thing.
Yeah, right. So the tech I'm using in my school has to be compatible across whatever people happen to have in the room.
Yeah.
Right.
I agree.
So, like, a lot of my class, they're actually sitting there on smartphones, and they're doing, whatever. But the whole anonymity thing became really quite an issue, and it really limited what I was able to do. But here's my thought. You have this profile. Everyone's using the same, let's just call it education kit, right? Yeah. Because we like the kit word.
No,
or at least Apple does. And if you can, like, check mark something where, like, we're going to go into anonymous mode, and it's just going to be anonymous for what's being shared in the class.
So how is a graphic not anonymous? How is a student's name? I'm trying to close the show out here, but I'm really interested in this. How would it not be? If someone creates a graphic or has a paper that you want to share up on the screen, they send it to you. It's not anonymous because you're screen sharing and the rest of the group just sees you open the email?
No.
Because you could do a dual... Why don't you just set up your HDMI as a second monitor? And then you could open up your stuff on your main laptop monitor and push things over to your second monitor, which is the big screen.
Okay,
Not
so
push,
right.
But slide them over to the second monitor.
So the problem I ran into was different for different things because I was using different technologies for different parts of the class, right? Let's go back to the Gmail account because I feel like the Apple could fix this one in particular. There is a class blog. Mm-hmm. It's still there. You can go to it. And I'm going to start using it again next semester. It's called Nerd Cultures. And that was the one where I got the most pushback from students because I'm like, these are your assignments. A large portion of their grade.
Pushback because they don't want to put their assignments on a blog? I feel like we're getting dangerously close to a conversation for another time, but I'm captivated right now. But I can't. I'll stop asking questions.
Well, let's just wrap it up. And there was a whole problem of people not wanting extraneous accounts. That's really what it came down to. People were sitting there and telling me, I have, an Apple account and I have a Yahoo account and I have this account and I have that account. And people were getting pissed because I was asking them to start one more account.
They don't mind doing it for Snapchat or Vine or Twitter or anything else.
Well, those are different platforms, but when you already have two or three
No. I think
accounts,
I think every normal person has at least 20 sign-ins right now when it comes down to Netflix and Hulu and Twitter and Facebook. I'm sorry.
Probably,
I don't want to get upset about it.
But also think about it. A lot of these things you don't have to remember, right? If you go on your iPad, you don't have to sign into any of these things because you are already signed in. You're opening up the app.
You do it the one time and then it remembers.
Mm-hmm. Same thing with Netflix. I don't sign into Netflix every time I turn on my TV because it's there.
Sure.
But now, in theory, if somebody had cared to enough, they could have downloaded. Google has an app. You could have downloaded it onto an iPad, blah, blah, blah. But yeah, people just whatever. But again, if there was a school account where this is an account you have to have anyways in order to be a student at this university.
It's there, it's like water. It's like air.
Yes.
It's there.
Yeah. If it's there and
it's
then
your school account.
And I can just tap into it
right. I see
and
where you're going
start
with this.
a blog in that platform.
Yeah.
Then I don't have to deal with that pushback.
Maybe you could do one of these things where every single one of those iPads or experiences or whatever, maybe they could push to an IP address or just a simple website link that can just run on the main screen, and then you can all push to that, and then that thing just reloads and stuff like that. But that's maybe that's how I would try to do it. But because then they're sharing it anonymously. You know what I mean? You're just updating the URL.
It's just it's one source.
But anyway, in the meantime, I highly recommend that you set up your main screen as your second monitor, preview your content on your main monitor, and then slide it over, is what I recommend you try for now.
I will have to look into it. I'm actually being moved into a different room, and I have not gone in to look at what tech is going to be available to me yet.
Sure.
Because I have, for the last couple of years, always been in the same room. I know how it works. Mm-hmm. All of a sudden, they're like, no, you must go into that building.
In a way, it's like your main monitor is the monitor where you work. The second monitor is almost like your overhead display. Mm-hmm. It's fine if people see you drag a window over. It's not super cool, but it's I think in a class setting that's acceptable.
Practical.
Are you?
It's not super theatrical.
Are you kidding? Teaching undergrads the fact that I can use my iPad without breaking it, they are impressed.
Okay. It's blowing my mind right now. Who are these people? I want to wrap this up. Okay. We got to get out of here. Very interesting.
I'm sorry. I totally hijacked that education one, but
well, it's a fair point. And the point that you're making is, if there could be this one account.
Yeah.
Like one ring to rule them all.
Yes. Yeah. I want the one ring.
One ring to bring them together and in the fire bind them.
One does not simply show an asset without privacy. Okay, I'm out. I'm done. Krista-Lee, if people have thoughts on this, they can find you on Twitter. They can tweet you their thoughts on sharing information in the classroom at...
they can tweet me at GamerAnthro or sign up for my class, Anthropology 302 at UWM.
Wow. Very cool. Very cool. Anyway. V, I got a email from Krista-Lee the other day. I'm in her syllabus.
Yes, David is going to, he's going to come in and do a little guest appearance for one of my classes in February, I believe.
I think so.
Hot dog.
We're going to do a section on podcasting.
I'm going to talk all about it. All about it.
Local expert.
And
Vee.
I think I'm going to make them listen to part 2 of this episode.
Oh, yeah? The one we
Yes,
just did?
I think that'll be a good one.
Yeah.
Yep.
Good. That's good. Vee, while people are awaiting episode 283 with bated breath, they can text you or text you.
Text me.
Whoa, we just
Hit me
got really
up.
personal.
Here's my number.
Here's my number. You know, just text me. Greg would love that. honey, you're like,
Phone is blowing
what is
up.
going on with your phone right now?
Yeah, it's just really popular right now because I shared my phone number on a podcast.
But they could tweet you at.
They can tweet me at bear_Annika and they can hit me up there.
Fantastic. We love it when people tweet the show at Technophiles Pod. You can find us on iTunes, Facebook, and Stitcher by searching Technophiles Podcast. Of course, also on YouTube. Or you can go to our actual website, technophilespodcast.com, where you can find show notes to this episode, along with any of our other episodes, like perhaps one of our live shows with Stuart Mouthrop, Thomas Malaby, or Jake Gill. We've got 3 of them coming up. Mark Tassman coming up. I'm very excited about him. It's going to be a good chat. And we have some very exciting possible guests for some of the others, which I'm very, very excited about. We just got to make sure, we got to seal those deals.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
But if it happens, it's going to be great.
Yep.
So, gals, I'll see you next week. Who knows what we'll talk about.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
All right, cool. Have a great weekend.
See you later, guy.
Night.
Slur.